Ew. Yeah, no, sorry for the late response. Anyway, here's the deal. Yeah, on my blog, I have posted my 100th post. I know, but I'm not gonna gloat over it. Nah, I've actually been seeing a lot of things, especially like on the technological side. First of all, I want you to understand there is a apparent virus, computer virus going around that claims to be the FBI saying that you are in violation of the DMCA, the the Digital Millennium Copyright Act. For all those of you who don't know what the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, it was a law signed by Bill Clinton, I think back in '97 or '98, I think, possibly '99. I don't know. I'll have to do some independent research, which I'll be happy to. Which, when it's complete, I will put it right in the little side box in the description, so this way at least you can see it and read it for yourselves. Anyway, I'll include a couple of links in here as well. Well, basically, this virus will take over your computer, demanding ransom anywhere between, I don't know, like $100 and possibly $1,000, either through MoneyPack or some other money card service. I want y'all to know, as intimidating as this is, don't pay it. I'm going to tell you that right now. My lady, and I love her dearly, was so scared by this. I said to her, "All right, sweetie, I think it's a scam. I'm going to do it, but I'll be right there. Don't do anything." Turns out, I was right. It was a scam. And it is a scam. The reason why I know it's a scam, the FBI does not demand payments via money card services. They don't. They will give you an encrypted website to do this. Or they'll say, okay, here's an address that you can send a check over to us if you're going to try to do it that way. But usually, a lot of times, people will just simply pay their fines either online or a check via the mail. That's about it. So yeah, do not, by all means, pay that. Don't. It's a scam, and it's actually a form of malware called ransomware because it's like I said earlier, it's demanding ransom to free your computer. Don't bug it. Don't bother with it. It's yeah. Now that that's established, I just want you all to understand that about that particular thing, and don't worry about it. Just run your virus scanner, and or if you have a registry cleaner, run that. It'll get rid of it. That's the easiest way to get rid of it. But make sure you get a screenshot of it so this way, if you do get it, you can report it to the FBI. Very good way to do things. And I'm going to tell you this right now. I saw a description of what's going on the FBI website, and I will include that link too. I just want you all to know they are aware of it. So if you get dinged by it, trust me, you're not alone. Second of all, I have been watching the primary race for the Senate in for the Republicans in Mississippi. And I gotta tell you, well, I haven't been watching it like as in watching the whole thing from top to bottom. No, I've been sort of keeping my eyes open as to some of the ins and outs as to what's going on for the time being. apparently it was a pretty nasty run up to the primary, real nasty. Like going in, photographing Tad Cochran's wife. Look, I'm going to be very honest with you. I'm a liberal Democrat. Tad Cochran is a conservative Republican. We don't agree on pretty much anything. Politics don't matter right now. It's one thing if you're going to essentially disagree on public policy. That's normal. You want to do that. That's the way the founding fathers actually set up this country, and that's what I love about it. However, going into a nursing home, filming the guy's wife, and I mean breaking in to do that? Come on. How high are you? I mean, yeah, I know the guy got arrested, which was actually a conservative blogger. And no, I don't condone anybody trying to do this because you're going to get in trouble with law enforcement if you do that. So, don't go there. But if I had to make a call as to who I would want to win that Republican primary, it's not this Tea Party guy. Although I would say that the Tea Party guy, having him win would be a godsend for the Democrats because first time since John Stennis retired back in 1989, Mississippi will be represented by a Democrat in the Senate. It's like since 1989, it's going to be 2015 next year. Do the math. That's 26 years. That's a good chunk of time. Anyway, not the point. I mean, yeah, it would be nice if Mississippi has a Democrat representing it, but it's like, I know that's not going to happen. But that's just going to be an anomaly. They're going to be out after one term. However, if Cochran wins, which actually, in this case, I hope he wins, because after what this Tea Party guy, Chris McDaniel, and all the other people that are either associated with him or affiliated or not really, I don't know, just some of the people that were around him in his campaign. If he has any ties to that conservative blogger, I hope he gets defeated. I mean, that's just like, you don't go there. Go after the guy who's obviously in office. Yeah, he's fair game. Anyway, so yeah, there's that. And I don't know. And I know Petro Poroshenko had just gotten the presidency in Ukraine, so that'll be interesting to see as to what the heck is going to go on with that, and to see whether or not Putin is going to do something even crazier. Look, this isn't to say that Putin is an evil guy. No, he's actually a very smart guy. But the main thing is that he's been in office for so long, and he um, he's no different than any other national politician in a sense that essentially those who have been in power for a very long time, it gets to their heads, and so they end up going insane. So that's not new. And by the way, it's like I said in one of my other previous videos, or I think I said it. If I did, then I'll find the video and I'll put it in here. But if I didn't, consider this as this informative session then. A lot of the stuff that's going on between Russia and Ukraine, as well as Russia and some of the other ex-Soviet republics, or in some cases in Eastern Europe, none of this is new. And even between each other, none of these disputes are new. These disputes go back centuries. So the whole thing with Crimea, for example, it's like I said at one point. It was originally a Russian station. It was originally a part of Russia proper, but then Khrushchev, the you know Soviet, the SU president at the time, or the Soviets, leader, shall we say? Yeah, excuse me. He tossed that over to Ukraine. The fact of the matter is, most of the people in Crimea have to be ethnic. Most of them claim to declare themselves to be ethnic Russians. And they technically look towards Russia. There's a Russian Navy base there. So, again, plus, I mean, you have a whole bunch of them. So, to see Putin doing this was not entirely unexpected. But there's also another thing. There's also another factor that has nothing to do with all these historic disputes, even though Putin is trying to play them up a little bit. What he's trying to do is he's trying to rally up Russian nationalism. I'm not overly worried about it in one particular sense. Because I kind of understand the reasoning behind it. The Russian economy, I think either last year or at the end of 2012, started to tank. That's because a lot of either European nations or some of the transit states that helped to get Russian gas either over to Europe or other areas. And no, actually, it wasn't that. It was the price of oil actually began to fall because we we Americans started getting in there, or kind of started killing their monopoly a little bit. Not just in Europe, but in other states that purchase their oil and gas. We started coming into the game. Now, let me tell you something. How do we manage to get back into that and turn into a net exporter? First of all, we quit buying all of this gas from abroad because we knew that it was essentially going to it was going to do two things. One, it was going to kill our economy. Two, it was endangering us because then we were essentially paying off people who would have would have no second thought about funding somebody who would want to do us harm. So that was a national security issue. So that's why we had to pay that back. Thirdly, actually no, there's just 2 points to that. And well, yeah, one of which was it was just the price itself. It was getting too expensive. It's getting too expensive to ship it across the ocean, so it's like, okay, produce it ourselves. Easy solution. So, yeah, we're producing our own oil and our own gas. You want to know? And I got news for you. It's coming out of this state in the middle of nowhere. No, actually, it's somewhere. This state is actually North Dakota. It is a mountain slash plain state slash Midwestern state, actually. They have a lot of oil in North Dakota. Apparently, the amount of oil that's in there is about maybe 3 to 5 times the size of what they had in Saudi Arabia, or in some cases some of the oil fields that are in Russia. Now, because of this, we've been able to export it, to countries like China, Japan, South Korea, some cases to India, and now we're starting to get into Western Europe. These are Russia's markets. So they're not buying as much Russian oil because now they're starting to buy American oil. And there's an oil boom going on in North Dakota. Which, here's the thing. If you're a fan of the oil boom, or if you're a fan of keeping American economic strength, you want to invest in something. I mean, if you feel like you want a good investment for at least for right now, you could just invest in the North Dakota oil boom if you wanted to do it. But that's your call. Don't take it from me. I'm not an expert in speculation, so I'm not going to get into that. Don't go off on my advice. I would talk to a financial advisor about doing that first. Somebody who actually knows the commodities markets. I don't know the commodities markets, so don't hold me accountable. But yeah, I just know offhand that with the North Dakota oil boom, it's eating into Russia's profits. So that's kind of why, and because of that, the Russian government can't afford to do as much social spending as it was doing, you know, for pensioners, for young people, for you name it. So right now, the Russian people are, they're kind of pissed because first of all, they were told this. Now they're seeing their living conditions slip. They're not able to make as much money. There's corruption everywhere. Putin essentially and United Russia essentially stole a couple of elections. Before, people didn't care because it's like, okay, we know Putin's going to get in there. Because they figured, and they were told, that the oil boom would last forever. That we would always have high prices to help keep us afloat. I don't think so. Nothing lasts forever. And that's something the Russian leadership failed to take into account. Specifically Putin. I'm not saying that Putin's not a stupid guy. Putin's a very smart guy. I mean, read his New York Times op-ed. He's got the intellect of he's got intellect and eloquence like nobody would have even thought of. But this is why Russia's doing what it's doing. Putin needs a distraction so to keep himself as the big strong man. But the main problem is that because of this, his popularity has gone down, like substantially. It's not anywhere in like the 80-90% bracket. It's closer to the 50 to 60% bracket for right now. But it's slipping. So he needs something to show him as this big mighty president. What do when you have domestic trouble? Very simple. And I know this from taking a foreign policy class. When you do this, you make mischief abroad. Create a foreign crisis. That'll rally your people behind you. Very easy to do. Take Bush and company in 03, in 02, before they went into Iraq. Same thing. Whipped up a whole bunch of American patriotism before heading into Iraq. Don't move on our part. But now it's like, It's awful. It was a big mistake. The fact of the matter is, the American people, unlike some of these characters in Congress, we don't want an uptick in military spending. We want to pare it down a little bit. Because we understand this isn't 1945, this is 2014. The Soviet Union isn't there anymore. Russia's not. I mean, Russia's not a weak country, I can tell you that much. Russia's a pretty strong country, in terms of military, but they're not to the same level that they were under the Soviet Union. That's a fact. But to say that they are a weak country, not at all. They're still a pretty high rate military power. America? Oh, we're a power to be reckoned with. I mean, look at what we've done. You do not want to mess with Americans when they are pissed. Iraq is not a real example of that. But a real example of this? Oh, hey. Actually, I can think of an even better example than that. Gulf War in 91. That was a real example of American power. Yeah. Or talk about with the Taliban, for example. We told those guys if bin Laden did something, we would hold them accountable. And we held them accountable. We've weakened them. We've weakened the core of Al Qaeda. It's just there's all these little different groups everywhere else that are, taking Al Qaeda's naming this and that or whatever. The point is, we went in there and we did what we had to do. Does this mean that we're going to be going to war with Russia? Not at all. First of all, unlike the Baltic states, Ukraine is not a part of NATO. So we don't have much of a defense agreement with them. The Baltic states are a different story. They are members of NATO, and actually, they're pretty safe from Putin. To an extent. Putin is going to try to go in after them. I mean, because he wants to restore the Soviet Union, obviously. That's because, as he said, the collapse of the Soviet Union was the biggest mistake in Russian history. Well, there's a lot of Russians that actually think this way. It's just, that's just the reality of it. But I wouldn't worry about it too much. Putin, I think, offhand, I don't think he's dumb enough to go after the Baltic states. He'll be able to do something about maybe Ukraine. I think after he gets bogged down trying to take over Ukraine, especially the western part, I have a big feeling that he's going to go after the whole of Ukraine. He's not going to be satisfied with the eastern Ukraine. No, he's going to want western Ukraine too. It's just western Ukraine, those people are going to be fighting tooth and nail to keep the Russians out. I know this. Because there's certain areas of Ukraine that were not historically a part of Russia. They were a part of Austria-Hungary. That's Carpatho, Ukraine. They were never a part of Russia. up until about the end of the 1930s, when they were tossed over to Russia, when it was then the Soviet Union, as a concession for as a way of thanking them for their for their support. That was the Germans that did that, by the way. Anyway, so yeah, there's that. Yeah, I am. As for my end, well, no, not too much has been going on my end. Just finishing up the program for software testing, and that's about it. And I've also been yeah. Oh, by the way, there's also another thing I gotta tell you guys. I'm gonna make this the last topic, and then we're gonna kill it off here because this is starting to get to be about 30 minutes. I realize that. I'm sorry. I'll try to keep a cap on it. Not longer than 15 to 20. I'm gonna work on it. By the way, back to my point. There is apparently a lot of self-help videos, especially if you feel like you're being scapegoated, or if you're in or about what to do if you're in like an abusive relationship or something, or you feel like you're being mentally or verbally or even emotionally abused, physically abused even. There's some good videos here on YouTube. I would recommend that you watch them. I'll just make a note of saying that. And if you want to know my story, because I've dealt with it myself, and I'm trying to deal with it. I try to deal with the after effects of it on a day-to-day basis. So I don't know if you feel like you want to know my story or something. Yeah, drop me a comment on my Google Plus account, or drop me a comment on my Facebook page, which I'll include the link at the bottom, but it is facebook.com/JG1987SF, or on my Twitter feed, which is twitter.com/JGSF1987. So, yeah, we'll leave it at that. Anyway, catch you later.